So in this tutorial, I'm going to show you some of the basic functions of After Effects, which is a program you can use to do motion graphics, and there's a ton of stuff you can do with it. But I'm trying to start off very simple here, so hopefully this is not too challenging to start with. So when you open it up, it'll look like this, and you'll need to make a new project. And then in your composition settings, I want you to change it to say text effects. You can leave the dimensions 1920 by 1080. That's typically what it is for your projects. And then frame rate, you can leave it at that. I want you to leave it at 20 seconds though for the duration. So if you haven't got it as 20 seconds, I want you to do it as 20 seconds. So I'm going to hit OK. And now I've made a composition. So the way this works is a little bit different than how it does in Premiere. Up here is where I've got all the different parts of my project. And then down here is kind of like my timeline in Premiere, where I have all the different parts that are going to be in my composition. So I'm going to start off by using the text tool up here, and I'm going to draw a box, and I'm going to type your name. So for your project, you will be using your name, and I'm going to go ahead and change the font, and I do that over here in the character window. So I can do that one. Doesn't really matter. I'm going to go up to a line. I want you guys to be familiar with that. So I'm going to horizontally center it, and I'm going to vertically center it. So it's right in the middle of the whole thing. Okay, so you're going to have 5 different text effects that you're going to apply, and right now you can see that it's going all the way through. So I said it was going to be 20 seconds, so you can see how that's spaced out through the whole thing. I want you to remove this red bar so that you are only using the first 4 seconds for this particular text effect. So now we're going to go over here to Effect Presets, and I'm going to go under Animation Presets, so it's got a lot of things already made up for you. You're going to go under Text. Oh, wrong one. I'm going to go under Text, and I'm going to use one under Organic called Quiver. So you can experiment later with these, but I want you to have practice using this one. So I'm going to drag that over to Quiver, and now when I hit space, you can tell it's very violently shaking. So I don't really like the way that looks right now, so I'm going to try to move it around and change it a little bit. So under Text, I got too many things expanded here. I'm going to go under Animation, Animator, and right there you see some of the different choices you have. So there's a whole lot. I'm going to focus right now on changing the minimum and maximum amount of wiggle that it'll put there. You got your wiggly selector, which is just kind of fun to say. So you can change that so it won't wiggle nearly as much. So I'm going to raise the number. If it's 100%, it won't wiggle at all. That's not what we want. So let's move it down to 60. That's still an awful lot of wiggle. Maybe 90. Okay, I like that a little bit better, and I'm also going to change it so that it affects the words themselves, the whole word, not just the letters. Okay, so that looks kind of weird, whether you like that or not. I mainly wanted to be able to, I wanted you to show me that you can go down and mess with the settings in here, because all the settings in here are going to need some maintenance before you implement them. Okay, so now we're going to make another text layer. So I'm going to go back to my text tool here, and I'm going to move down a little bit past the 4 frames where we made that one, and I'm going to draw another text box, and you're going to use your name again. And this time I'm going to use a different font. Again, not terribly important what font you choose exactly, but I do want you to center it both horizontally and vertically each time. And then, so you can see now that that is stretching throughout the whole project, and I don't want it to do that, so I'm going to drag, and I'm going to hold down the Shift key while I do that, and that will lock it so that I can get, you're going to do 4 seconds of each of these effects, so I can see that you know how to do each of those. So I'm going to drag this one down to 8 seconds. So each one will be 4 seconds. So now for this one, I'm going to go back to Effects and Presets, and I'm going to be using one called Jiggy. this time, and then rather than go through all the submenus, I'm just going to search for it. So I typed in Jiggy, and then I'm going to apply that. So this one, if you watch it, looks kind of like an earthquake or something is shaking the text. And again, you can go down into text and the Jiggy animator, and you can make all sorts of different changes down there. I'd like you to experiment with that and see what looks best to you. Alright, so for the next effect, we're going to use the typewriter tool so that it'll type out words or letters at a time. So I'm going to go again down here, make a new text layer. You will type your name. For my font choice this time, I'm going to go with Courier New because that looks like a kind of an old-timey typewriter, and I'm going to make it bold just because I feel like making it bold. And in these settings here, you can also change all sorts of other things, but you don't have to really do that for this particular assignment. But that's where you'll do it for future stuff. Again, I want you to align both horizontally and vertically, and I'm going to go ahead and do the 4-second rule again. Okay, so again, I hold down Shift when I'm dragging. You can not hold down Shift and just freehand it, but if you hold down Shift, it'll lock it to the end of that section, so you don't have to be as worried about that. It'll just lock to the end of that, snap to the end of that. Okay, so now under Effects and Presets, again, I'm just going to type, and I want Animate It In. I'm going to drag that to this layer, and now it's gone, and it'll pop up. But it doesn't go all the way to the end like I want it, like it pops up before the end. So I want you to have some experience with keyframes. So to do that, again, you're going to scroll down this menu, and you can see there's these little keyframe knobs right here, but I can't mess with those yet because they're just circles, and they're not the little diamond shapes that keyframes need to look like so that I can change them. So I'm going to go under Text. Okay, you can see it's still there, so I know where to look. It's under Animator. It's under Range Selector. Okay, so now you see it's these little diamond-shaped thingies, and this is how I know how to change it. So again, I want you to show me that you know how to do this. So you're going to have to move the keyframe down so that this will pop up at the very end of the 4 seconds. Okay, that's really all you got to do. And you can also, that's slow, but it shows that you know how to do it. You can also go under the advanced options here, and instead of doing characters, you could do like words, so that it will be just your name, although that's really spaced out. Let's leave it with characters. Actually, you know what? Let's go ahead and, just to show me that you've done this, I want you to randomize it, so they'll just pop up randomly instead of going in order. Okay, so that's an effect that you can use for your project that you're going to be making with this stuff. Okay, next one we're going to, again, make a text layer. Change the font. No, already used that one. And align. This time, and make it sure it's only the 4 seconds. This time, we are going to go to Effects and Presets and go under Animation Presets, Text, and we got Lights and Optical. And this one is called Fluorescent Light. You can also drag it like straight on to the display. And another cool thing that you can do is toggle transparency. So you can barely see it in this version, but this is going to be really useful when we're actually bringing these things into Premiere, because that's what you're going to do when you're making your next project. You're going to be making stuff in After Effects, but then you'll bring it into Premiere. And you need to have that transparent background so you can just put it on top of whatever footage you have in Premiere. So this one is pretty straightforward. It flickers like a fluorescent light. Again, there's all sorts of options that you could mess with down here to animate it. But I'm going to let you just explore that on your own and see what you like, what looks best. Okay, for this last one is the most complicated one, so we're going to be doing a little slide reveal of the text so that you can have a little motion to add to your text. So I've gone ahead and I've made a new layer. I skipped all those steps for you. I've gone ahead and aligned it and changed the font, and now this is an important part. You have to deselect it so you don't have anything selected, and you're going to go up here to the rectangle tool and you're going to double click. If it doesn't do that, then you need to go back and make sure that you've deselected before you click that tool, because it'll do something different if you have a layer selected at the moment. But first thing we need to do, it doesn't really matter what color this shows up as, but we're going to slide it so we are covering all of the text. We're going to go down here where it says toggle switches mode, and we need to be able to see this, the track mat. With your name selected, I'm going to track it to the alpha matte shape layer 1, and then while still having this track selected, I'm going to hit the P key, which is going to create this position, and then I'm going to move down about right here, and then I'm going to press this little stopwatch right here. What that does is create a keyframe which is going to control the movement of this text. So I'm going to go down here a little bit further, and I'm going to press this little diamond shape to make another keyframe. Right now it's not doing any movement though, so I want to make sure that I go ahead and select my first keyframe, and then you can use this little arrow to go back to make sure we're at the right spot. And we're going to make our movement, and we're going to do that by dragging the text down, and I'm going to hold shift so that it moves straight. And now I'm going to hide it. So now if I play this, it moves kind of slowly though, so I want to fix that. Now I'm going to work on making the speed look a little bit better. So first thing I need to do is drag and highlight both of those keyframes that you made, and right click, and I'm going to go to keyframe assistant down here, and I'm going to select easy ease. So what this is going to do is going to make things a little smoother, and to make it even better, I'm going to go to the graph editor and make sure that you're still selected in your name and position still selected, and it takes me to the graph. If yours looks like this, we're going to need to go down here to choose your graph type, and I'm going to go, instead of value graph, I want to see the speed graph. So I'm going to select my speed right here, and then I'm going to drag this one so that my speed is really fast for a little, and then it slows down. So then when you play that back, it'll look like this. So it should slide in there. Rather than being as kind of boring as it was, it should speed it up a little bit. You can play around with that a little bit and see how you like it. But basically I want you to be able to mess with time a little bit in the keyframes. Okay, so that was all you needed to do. That's the final step before you're ready to export. So to export in After Effects is a little bit different than in Premiere. You're going to go to File and Export, and you're going to add it to the Adobe Media Encoder queue, and that's going to launch a whole new program which looks like this down on the taskbar. It may take a second to launch, but when it does, you should have something here in your queue. It should hopefully be H.264 already. If it's not, you can use this drop-down menu to choose H.264 just like we've done for all other projects. You can go right here to decide where you want the file to end up. It's going to go in whatever folder you want, I guess. Call it Text Effects Final, save, and then press this green button to start your queue, and that'll process it down here, and you are done. You just need to upload this to Canvas.